All right, everybody, it looks like it's 5 o'clock and time for us to start our event tonight. I'm very excited for tonight's event, and thank you all for being here. So to start off tonight's event, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Nick Berger. I'm the Senior Director of Student Programs here in the County Office of Education. And I am honored to be the one who will walk us through our presentation tonight and share this special day with you all. So next slide, please. And to start, in our next slide, to start our show, I'm going to introduce Superintendent Lynn Mackey.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening to honor our teachers. As a County Office of Education, we play many roles, but our most important job, the work I am most proud of doing, is supporting students and their families. At the heart of that work are our colleagues in the classrooms. Teachers and support staff are on the front lines every day working with students and families. Tonight, we are recognizing some of our agency's top educators. And even though these teachers work throughout the county from Richmond to Brentwood, they have a common purpose: to educate students who face some of the most difficult challenges. Tonight, we recognize those who have been chosen by their peers as the Teacher of the Year candidate, and we celebrate all the educators in this agency for their dedication to the work we do. Thank you again for joining us tonight as we honor these fantastic educators.
Excellent. Next slide, please. So thank you, Superintendent Mackey, for that message. So for this next part, I'm going to talk a little bit about the process that we went through in selecting our Teacher of the Year for this school year. The nomination process is quite extensive and really does require a lot of work from our staff. So I'm very thankful that we were able to acknowledge these candidates, to get a lot of buy-in from our staff that this is a really important year for us to recognize our teachers. We know that this is a year that our teachers have stepped up beyond a way that teachers have stepped up in the past. We know that with all of the things that we've been through for the last couple of years, that we've really learned that how important teachers are and how much of a difference they make in our students' lives. So I do feel like this year, it takes a little bit more to do a lot of the things, including nominating our peers, and really, so we're very thankful for this process. We started off in the new year, January, really trying to get the information out to everybody that it's time to select a Teacher of the Year and to start the process. We talked about the values that we're looking for. We talked about finding those teachers who really have stepped up to engage students, finding teachers who are using technology to make that, to draw students in, to give them more. Teachers who have really taken on multicultural education, inclusive practices, and really primarily teachers who have stayed student focused during this process and make an extra effort to make sure that they're reaching all students. So with this big ask, we put this out to our staff and we let all of our staff make nominations. Who do they think would be the best person to represent the Teacher of the Year for the Contra Costa County Office of Education Student Programs? The next step, the nominations were forwarded. We went through the process of making sure that they met the qualifications for a Teacher of the Year, credentialed for 3 years, those same amount of time with our agency, and we brought those names to our central office selection team. With that, our central office selection team's job was to pick one nominee from each of our student programs to move forward as a finalist. And with that, to take on the next step of putting together their information, putting together their resumes, writing down their philosophy of teaching, really digging in and showing the work they do to better the agency, showing how they're lifelong learners, showing how they use 21st century practices in their teaching, and showing how they're making efforts to connect the students' education with the community. These are all parts of education that we've learned really do make an impact on students and make their education valuable. So with that, again, a very difficult process, selecting 3 finalists to move forward to be here today with us. So I'm very thankful for this committee. What we came up with was everybody that you were going to meet tonight and every name you're going to see today. These are truly winners. These are folks that we are very proud are representing our student programs in the County Office of Education. So that brings us to tonight, where I am honored to be able to celebrate with you guys. We're going to go through, I'm going to introduce our principals. They're going to talk a little bit about the nominee that was moved forward as the finalist. And then we will get to the main reason we're here is to introduce you to our 2022-23 finalist that will be our Teacher of the Year moving forward. So next slide, please. I'm going to now go through and talk a little bit about the nominees that we started off with. So next slide, please. So again, this is such an honor. A lot of these teachers I've been able to actually see in action, and again, just a wonderful group of folks. Start off with CHRISTINA Carter, our CTE teacher in West County Detention Facility. Shaba Molinar, our teacher in our Marsh Creek Detention Facility. Kathy Bent over at Heritage High School, Special Education Teacher Extraordinaire. John Plutt, who is our Construction Technology teacher in Marsh Creek Detention Facility. We have Wendy Weiss, our multiple subjects Golden Gate Community School teacher. We also ANDRIA MADSEN, special education teacher at Liberty Transition Special Education Program. And finally, Carrie Rooney, a school psychologist from Mount McKinley. So I do want to really celebrate these folks. Again, made it through the selection committee, got to the point of being noticed by their peers, honored for their great work. And so thank you to the folks who nominated these groups, and thank you for your great work for these 7 folks. So now I'm going to move to the next slide. So this next part, I'm going to turn over to our principals, and I'm going to let the principals talk a little bit about the finalists that represent their program. And to start us off, I'm going to introduce Mr. Principal Randy Linscheid from our special education programs in the Far East. Principal Linscheid.
Thank you, Nick. I first want to congratulate all the nominees and the finalists for being recognized tonight. My nominee is Miss ANDRIA MADSEN. I first started working with Andy when I became principal for East and Far East County programs in the fall of 2017. Andy and the staff at Liberty were all very welcoming. Andy was one of the many staff who had a long history with the county, and I quickly learned that it would be a great benefit to me and our programs if I were to check in with those longtime veterans like Andy before making any major programmatic decisions. In many cases, what I might be recommending had already been attempted in the past and was often, there was a good reason why it did or it didn't work. Aside from her historical knowledge, Andy seems to be omniscient, i.e. all-knowing, when it comes to students and families. When we have staff meetings where I might bring up potential concerns, she often is already knew about it and has a plan for how to resolve it. Andy's students and staff always appear happy and eager to be at school, which says a lot about how she runs her class. She's an advocate for her students in meeting their needs, whether it be in the classroom or preparing them for the community. I attend a lot of meetings with teachers and parents, and Andy has a nice way of making her families feel respected and heard. Aside from her regular teaching gigs, she typically takes on other roles and responsibilities. During the time that I've worked with Andy, she's been the teacher. She's been a teacher mentor, supporting new teachers. She's been a teacher on special assignment, among other unofficial roles. Every year, she is one of the teachers who helps with setting up training, setting up IEP meetings, helps with student program projections, new student program placements, social events, and the like. Because I oversee so many sites, I can't always be at my main site, which is Liberty. So Andy has often jumped in and helped out with supporting parents and district staff to observe classrooms, help with staff coverage, and when there's vacancies, managing IEP meetings. I don't think there has ever been a situation where Andy has declined to help, even if she really wanted to, which I think she does quite often. So why does she take on so much? Because she knows that the students are the ones who benefit. Andy is completely student-centered in all that she does, like many of our teachers. I'm sorry, all of our teachers. She is doing it for the students. It was for all these reasons that I nominated Andy for the CCCOE Teacher of the Year.
Thank you, sir. Very well said. For the next nominee, I'm going to introduce Principal Rupel Stroud from our Contra Costa Adult School Program. Rupel, take it away. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Nick, and again, congratulations to all. Our finalist for Teacher of the Year is for the Contra Costa County Office of Education from the Contra Costa Adult School is CHRISTINA Carter. When CHRISTINA Carter joined our staff several years ago, there was a backlog with the detention facility security clearance. So it took about 2 months before CHRISTINA could actually begin to work with us. We were sure she would not wait out this time, but fortunately for us and for our students, she did. And we're glad she did. Throughout the years, but especially during the last 2 years of COVID-driven alternative learning and course delivery models, CHRISTINA has been one of, if not the most impactful staff member in our school. As a teacher, she has managed to create meaningful, transition-focused, adult standards-based computer applications classes. As a teacher on special assignment, and really beyond that job, even without the benefit of TOSA, she has provided guidance and groundwork for WASC implementation, our upcoming mid-cycle review the next school year. She's trained staff to digitally manage COVID-related remote learning packets. She's created a tool to help teachers document professional development opportunities. CHRISTINA has provided curriculum leadership in our CTE programs, including Office 365, culinary, and the multi-craft core pre-apprenticeship readiness program, and soft skills for all the programs. In our life skills section, CHRISTINA has provided curriculum support for our DUCE class, and most recently, she joined in our academic section, our academic classes team to support curriculum alignment, realignment, credit revision, and course content and delivery. She has worked with our instructional assistants to support teachers with distant learning management processes, packet distribution, attendance, and required documentation. She's worked with the office staff to provide support with inmate requests. Additionally, CHRISTINA participates in helping to complete our adult education funding deliverable surveys, which includes our continuous improvement plan. And she participates in student programs collaboratives, such as the ACT team, the alternative curriculum team, and ROP. and articulation agreements with the community colleges, which she has done successfully, including this year. CHRISTINA is the go-to person for our staff members. She keeps her collegial guidance and support student-focused, and that's a real benefit for all of us. The list of her accomplishments and staff support is endless. We appreciate her effort to improve and grow our program, to provide meaningful staff support, and to center our program to help our incarcerated students attain personal and professional success in their lives. That's at least a portion of our view of why CHRISTINA Carter is an extraordinary finalist for Teacher of the Year. So we present to you CHRISTINA Carter.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Stroud, Principal Stroud. So for our last finalist, I want to introduce our principal of our Golden Gate Community Schools, Principal Doug Corbin.
Good evening, everyone. It's my honor and privilege to nominate Mrs. Wendy Weiss as a Contra Costa County Office Teacher of the Year. Ms. Weiss has, or I've observed from Ms. Weiss, so much professional growth and leadership over the years as an independent study teacher. She consistently provides quality instruction and care for her students. Ms. Weiss provides suggestions and volunteers to take on tasks to make independent study more responsive to all students and their needs, as well as their family. She works to incorporate more technology and has helped tremendously to pivot towards distance learning in a way that our students and families can engage in better ways. For example, Ms. Weiss has helped coordinate and lead our STEM Scopes curriculum at our school. She has also been very helpful with implementing AB 167 requirements this year. Lastly, she exhibited the empathy and understanding to support our students who have health concerns around the pandemic. For these reasons and so many more, it has been my honor to nominate Ms. Wendy Weiss for the CCCOE Teacher of the Year. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Principal Corbin. And again, thank you to all of our principals for being here tonight with us and for talking about these fantastic teachers. I'm going to move to the next slide, please. So before I do, let everybody know who our Teacher of the Year for 2022-23 school year is. I do want to acknowledge one thing. I think it's really important to acknowledge that this celebration is really one that deserves to be in person. If we were in a regular year, we would be sitting down and having a meal together. We would get to meet these nominees' families. We would get to see their proud parents. We would get to see their children looking at their mom with those eyes of like, wow, this is so amazing. There's a lot to being in person. We would be eating together. We would be laughing. I would be making a joke, which doesn't come off as well on Zoom. We would have music. We would probably have dancing, but all of those things that we know we love to do to celebrate, high fives, hugs. So I do want to recognize those are things that are really challenging to recreate in a Zoom. We know that, thank you, Nick Z, for your chat. We know that we can put things in the chat. We know that there's ways to do rounds of applause on Zoom. But I really want to say that I am committed to making sure that this group in this next year, as we move through the pandemic, I really want to make the commitment that we will give these folks the proper celebration because they work so hard to get to this point, and it really is oftentimes a once in a lifetime opportunity. So with that, I wanted to acknowledge that. I also just want to thank everybody for being here at this Zoom. and because it is also a celebration. So I'm looking at my notes to make sure there's nothing else that I needed to say, because I know the next is announcing our Student Program Teacher of the Year. So nothing else in my notes. So without further ado, I am going to announce the nominee or the finalist who was selected as our Teacher of the Year. Again, I wish I was able to say, come on up here and give us a speech, but again, with Zoom, that's not, we're not able to do that, but what we are able to do is reach out to these folks. You will see a press release, and again, my commitment is this is not the last time you'll see this fantastic group of teachers who deserve to be recognized. So with that said, without further ado, I want to congratulate Christina Carter for being selected as this year's Student Program Teacher of the Year. So big round of applause for Christina. And thank you to all of our finalists and nominees who made an effort to be here today. You are all winners, and we are very excited to take the next year and celebrate you all. So with that, again, thank you all for being here tonight. We have this recorded. We will share it out with folks who do want to share it further. And we want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I will stop and I will let folks make their comments in the chat. And as people run off and celebrate their St. Patrick's Day, again, congratulations to all of our nominees and to Christina Carter, our new Contra Costa County Student Program Teacher of the Year. Thank you, everybody. And we can go to the next slide, Mr. Becker. All right, so a big thanks for the communications department, Rick, for helping us put this together. A big thanks to DJ for supporting me through this process. Big thanks to our Mike Becker and our communications department and technology department for helping with the technology to get this done today. Thank you to everybody who was involved. Thank you to the folks who nominated folks, and most of all, thank you to our teachers. So you all have a good evening.